I'll read. So I'm just going to go through some analysis of the dogs data that I've done, which brought about a new strategy that I'm looking at. And initially, I was expecting like a 95% strike rate. Straight rate being the amount of times you win, so winning 95 out of 100. When I started it, I actually hit 96, which was pretty good. But at the minute, I'm down to about 93, I think, the last time I looked, but we'll have a look at that as we go. Oh, actually, you can see it there. It's that second one there. So where it says dogs forecast layer 15 to 20, you can see we've placed 224 bets. We've won 208 of them, which is a 93% strike rate, and we've won £2.08. Now, you might think £2.08 isn't much, but if I drop this down, you can see I'm only putting a penny on, so I'm winning 1p for every successful race. And you can see where I lose there, I'm losing about 15p onwards, 15 to 20p. But then if I was to lose again, I'm probably looking at losing about £2 to £3. But we'll go into that during the video. So this is just another option over and above my current strategy of laying the forecast. It is still laying the forecast, by the way, but we're just looking at odds between 15 and 20. So in this video, I'm going to show you why. So if you remember, one of the things I have been doing the whole time I've been doing the dog strategy, the lay the forecast, is I've got this strategy running here, which basically just puts a level 2p stake. If I just look at stake in here, you can see it's just doing a level stake of £2. Sorry, £2, 2p. And we've lost £8.56 over the duration, and there's been 6,251 bets, and we've won 5,549 of them. Literally every day for every race, it's putting 2p. It's laying a 2p forecast, and it's not doing any recovery or anything like that. We've got an 89% strike rate, and I'm using that as a data collection tool. So I've now got 6,251 results, bets that I can actually look at and analyse and see what's happened. And with a strike rate of 89%, so that's our yardstick for these tracks down here. Anything over 89 is doing better than this. So you can see doing this strategy on its own is it's a losing strategy. And the reason we're doing so well down here is because we're manipulating it by doing a bit of recovery and a bit of filtering out of we're trying to filter out tracks that haven't got a good historic record of winning for us. So if I go back to, we'll just have a look at a couple of bets. You can see where we're laying 2p and winning 2p every race that the forecast doesn't come in. I'm not bothered about the odds or anything, so we've got odds as high as like 20 odd. The reason I was doing it was to see what the sort of basic standard settings without any filtering at all does. There's no filtering by 6 dogs running. It doesn't matter how many dogs are running, as long as there's a greyhound race running, it'll put a bet on, and it puts like hundreds of bets on. It puts 100 bets on day basically because there's that many races. So what I've then done is I've taken what happened. I'll just explain a bit of history here. It's the 27th of April now. On the 9th of April, this is my VPS running here. I had to switch VPS because the old one was running really slow. I realised it only had, I think it was 2 gig. I've now moved up to, actually I've moved up to 6, so it might have been 4 gig. I was using Host World and it was really slow even though it was 4 gig. I contacted the support, but I didn't get much response. I was kind of blaming my internet, whereas I was already running a separate VPS on Cheap VPS UK, and that was running much faster with 4 gig. So I'm back on Cheap VPS UK at the minute with 6 gig. It's about 12 or 13 quid a month, so it's up the monthly payment. But anyway, I had to load BF Bot Manager onto a new VPS, so I lost all the history from here. So if I go down in this list here, right to the bottom, I think it was the 9th. Oh, I've only got the 17th here. All right, the reason I've only got the 17th on here as well is because this version of Windows needed an update, and when you update it, you lose the history in here. it stays in the history tab up here. In this tab here, keeps all the history. And I need to look into this because I'm not sure if this is why I've had some slowdowns or whether it's the VPS. But I'm assuming the more history that gets into here, the more clogs up, and you should probably clear this out now and again. Anyhow, yeah, this needed an update on the 17th, so I lost the history on. Well, I lost the history in the strategies tab, but I'm not too fussed about that because I've still got it. So anyway, the bottom line is on about the 9th of April, I exported all of the data from this strategy here into a spreadsheet. So I'm going to show you that spreadsheet now. So you can see there's 6,251, but on the 9th of April, there was only just over 4,000 bets. So I'm going to take it to that spreadsheet right now. So this is a spreadsheet then. If I highlight column A here, you can see I've got a count of, hide that, I've got a count of 4,068 rows in this spreadsheet. So we've got 4,067 results because the top row is the heading. And this is the format that, essentially the format that Betfair Bot Manager throws all the data out in when you export it. I was a bit, bit taken aback by this kind of thing to start with because it just puts a description in. It's got like the time of the event, it's got the track, it's got the market, it's got the date, and it's got the trap selection at the end, all in one string. I thought that might have been split out, but anyhow, we just we can do some functions to get at that data. Just pick what we want out of it. I'll show you that a bit later on in the last few columns on this spreadsheet. We've then got a selection date. Oh no, it's not a date, that's a selection. That's just not come through in Excel properly, so we probably have got the selection there, 6.4 and 5.1, but it's coming through as a date when you open it up in Excel. Yeah. We've got the bet ID, which is just the Betfair Exchange internal bet ID. You've got the bet type, which will be lay or back. In our instances, it's always lay. We've got the matched amount. I did start this off at 10 pence, but then eventually I thought there's no point putting 10 pence on if I'm just collecting the data, so I moved it down to 2. Not sure. Oh, there, it's gone to 2 there, you can see. So I've done about 300 bets before I changed it down to 2 pence. What I'm going to do on the 1st of May is I'm going to change it down to 1 pence, just so it's cheaper to collect the data. Because you can see that this strategy isn't working on its own with a level stake at 2 pence, or £8 down. If I was only betting 1 pence, it would only be about £4 down, which I'm quite happy with over a period of a month or two just to collect the data. Loss rec amount, I'm not sure what that is. It's got 0 in all the columns. Price is the price. We'll put the bet on that, so that's, you can see anything up there goes up about 20 odd. Status, which is settled, void, or whatever, lapsed. You got your profit, so this is where we had the 10 pence profit, and that'll change to 2 pence. And if it's a loss, this will show as a negative number, so I've put some conditional formatting on here to change it red where it's negative, so you can easily see the negative ones where we've lost. You can also see that we've got the strategy here, which will always be Dog's Forecast Layer, because that just relates to the name of the strategy in Betfair Bot Manager. And then this column I've added myself with that formula there. And basically all it's doing, it's if we win, it's putting a 0 in. And if we have a loss, it's just tallying up a number to consecutively find out how many we've lost in a row. So you can see there we've lost 1 there, and we lost the second one straight after, so that shows us a 2. Then it goes back to 0 and then a 1. So you can see down exactly how many you've lost consecutively in a row, and you can see a lot of them are 1, but we have got a few 2s there. And if I drop down this filter at the top here, you can see how if I just select the 2s, because these are the ones that'll cause us a problem. You can see it's 43 consecutive losses, 2 consecutive losses out of 4,067 results, which is quite low. But do bear in mind this is across different tracks. I'm just doing consecutive losses chronologically in time order. Our green and red strategies, for example, in our main forecast lay strategy, does it by track, because obviously we've got a strategy for each track, which will give us better results because we're trying to get rid of tracks that aren't good performers. We've also got some threes here as well, because this will just show us. So we've got 4 threes, where we've lost 3 in a row consecutively, which is quite interesting. Again, very low numbers, but it does show that it can happen. Whether it'll happen for one track ever, probably will at some point, but we won't find out, because we stop our strategies after 2 consecutive losses because of the liability. We've then got place date, match date, and settle date. 2 columns are blank, a short description, doesn't seem to be anything in it, and tipstar is not relevant because we're not using the tipstar service. I would have the tipster in there if we were. And then these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns I've created myself at the end of this, at the end of the data. And basically, I'm putting a win or a loss in here. I've only just realised there's a bit of a mistake in here, because we do have some lapsed and voided statuses. And what I'm doing here is, if it's greater or equal to 0, I'm putting a W or an L. Now that's going to categorise the void ones as a win, which I shouldn't be doing. So if I just show you these, we've got lapsed and voided. So there's only 34. If you look down there, there's only 34, so it's not major, but these shouldn't be classed as wins. I only realised that late yesterday. Because the profit and loss is 0, it's categorised them as a win, but they're not. They're voided or lapsed. Voided is either the race didn't happen, or the meet got cancelled, or something like that, and lapsed is where your bet wasn't matched. Now, like I say, there's only 34. I do need to put a V in these to get rid of them out of the win count, because it's counting 34 wins for these ones. But at the minute, we'll just go with it. It's not going to affect our underlying numbers very much at all, because we're talking 4,000 and we're only talking 34. So then on the next column here, I'm just putting a 1 in here if there's a win, and a 0 if it's a loss. So basically, it's just looking at this column here and saying, if that's a W, put a 1 in. If it's a loss, put a 0 in. And then vice versa on the next column, just do the opposite. If it's on the L column, I'm putting a 0 in if this is a W, and I'm putting a 1 in here if it's a loss, if that makes sense. It's just basically so you can use these in pivot tables to count. So if I highlight that column there, I can see the sum is 3,626, which means we've won 3,626 out of the 4,067. And then also in this one, I can highlight that and I can see that I've won we've lost 441 out of the 4,068. 4,067 even. And then this selection here, I'm just taking the right 5 characters of the description in the first cell, which is this here. So I'm taking the right 5 characters of that, just to show the forecast that we selected. I haven't done anything with the forecast yet. My plans are to have a look by track, by forecast, and see how many we're betting on and is the favourite, and how many are winning or losing. Because if we get high or low numbers there, if we get low numbers, we can lay them. If we get high numbers, where, like say 6-3 at Romford always always loses, or take a losing one there, for example. So that means on this race here, we lost that one. So Crayford 4-5 actually won the race. Dog 4 and then 5 won the race. If we've put, say, 10 bets, and this is an extreme example, of course, if we've put 10 bets on 4-5 at Crayford and they've all lost, then it might be worth considering backing those. Which is something we can look at, and that's why I'm pulling the forecast out, even though I haven't done anything with it yet. And then I'm also pulling the track out with that function there. It's a little bit complicated, but basically it's just looking at the mid part of this string here and pulling out the track. You can study that, or you can look at some tutorials on Excel to find out how that works, but essentially it just pulls the track out of that first string. And that's it really. We can then use this data along here and any of the other data further back to actually do pivot tables. So what I have done is I've done a pivot table by price, and that's what I want to look at for this strategy. I have done another one by track as well, but I'm going to hold on to that one that's for our main strategy. But you see this price column here, the odds we're getting basically. I've done a pivot table here by price. Now, well, it was a pivot table. I've copied it and pasted it into a separate sheet now. But you can see our total here, 4,067 bets. These are the total number of bets that we've put on, and these are the number of losses. And this is the percentage of the losses. So here, I'll not start with that one. I'll explain that in a minute. Look at a big one. So we've got 472 bets here where the odds were between 9 and 10, and 64 lost, which is a percentage of 14%. Now, our strategy at the moment is anything up to 10, if you remember. So our strategy is doing this. I'll take out 0 or 1 because I'll tell you why that's not relevant in a sec. But we've got there 1,800 bets there between, in our green and red strategies, we've got 1,800 bets because we're only putting bets on between 1.01 and 9.8. So that's 1,800 bets, and we've had 262 losses, which is an average of 15%, which is like a lot higher than the 11% when you look at our strategy of doing like 89%. But the reason it's higher than 11% is because these are the most sort of odds-on favourites, if you like. Not odds-on favourites, but they're the most likely favourites because the odds are lower. If you had you can see down here where you've got like 12 races, 12 bets where the odds were between 22 and 23, that's really, really high odds for a forecast to come in. The only thing I can think's happened there is there might be like 3, 4, or even 5 dogs of the 6 that are like all equal favourites, like, and there might be like 3 or 4 to 1 each to win. So whereby even that wouldn't come out of 22. You'd have to have like I don't know, it'd have to be like sort of 9. Oh no, sorry. 2022. You're probably looking at something like 5 and 4 would get you to 20. So if you had one, if your favorite dog was 4 to 1 and your next favorite dog was 5 to 1, that would give you 20. So that would be this one up here. Anyhow, I'm not gonna dwell on that kind of thing, but this is the breakdown. So as you can see, I've just done the numbers for that manually. There's your number of bets. This is for everything from, I think I've included the 17 there as well. Yeah, I have. So you've got 18, 17 there, and that's 18, 17 here. So I've included these 17 bets here. We've had 264 losses, which is 14.53%, which means we've lost 1 in 6.88 races, if that makes sense, hopefully. The reason we probably shouldn't count these is because those 17, I believe, because the odds are between 0 and 1, which you can't have, is because they'll be the lapsed or the void bets. So we shouldn't really count those 17. So that should be like 1,800, and that should be 2 less than that. We're trying to do that now, 1,800, and that should be 262. It doesn't change these numbers significantly. We're still losing 14.56%, which is a lot higher than our 11%. And then we are losing 1 in every 6.87 bets or races. So I thought, well, that's interesting. Obviously, that's at that end. The reason I've done that end, if you remember, or if you started from the initial strategy videos, is because the liability is a lot smaller. We only liability is going to be on a pound bet. It's £9 because, well, £9.80 because we're only going up to odds of 9.8. If we were going up to 20 odds of 20, then our liability would be on the first losing bet would be 20 quid, and then multiply that by say another 20 on the second bet. You're looking at like 400 quid. Whereas at the minute we're only looking between 60 and 90 pounds. 60 and 90 pounds liability and loss for 2 consecutive losing bets. So anyway, I took the next set of data from 10 through to 15. So from this column here down to there, which is 1,658 bets, which is this here. And then we've had 145 losses down this column here, and that equates to an 8.75% loss, which is a lot lower than the 14, which means we're only looking at losing 1 in 11. I wish these notifications would go away. We're only looking at losing 1 in every 11.43 bets, which is a lot more palatable, and this is a lot lower than the 11%. So the idea here is then, do we change it to 10 to 15 and change our stakes so that our maximum loss after 2 consecutive losses is palatable or acceptable, if you like. But then I took it the next step again from 15 to 20, and this is where we come up with our strategy. So for 15 to 20, we are looking at 512 bets, which is a lot less, obviously, than the 1800s. So we're putting a lot less bets on. So you might think, well, we're going to lose a lot less money, but we could increase our stakes. But then the problem is, if we increase our stakes, our liability is going to be a hell of a lot higher. And that's the double-edged sword nature of this thing. We've had 26 losses out of the 512, which is a lot less, and which is only 5.08%. So roughly nigh on 95% of the bets are winning, which therefore means we only lose 1 in every 20 bets. Well, 19.69, so not quite 1 in every 20. So we put 19.69 bets on, and we'd only ever lose 1. That's based on the 4,000 bets I've already done, obviously. So that got me thinking, I'll put a strategy together, and that's exactly what I did do for that. The problem with this is, if we were using a pound, I'll just try and do the sums here on this side. If we were using a pound stake, and our odds or price, if you want, is 15, our first bet loss would say be 15. I'll not take the stake back off, I'll just leave it as 15, because this is like worst case scenario. And then the second bet would be doing a stake of 15 to try and recover this 15 that we'd lost. And then if we had another price of 15, we'd be looking at that times that, which is £225. Now that is the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is 20, because we're looking at odds of 15 to 20, don't forget. So the worst case scenario could be 2 20s. It's probably unlikely. It's probably going to be 2 bets that are closer to 15, but you've always got to look at the worst case scenarios, I think. So then this would be 20, this would be 20, and this would be 400. So after 2 bets, if you only started off with a pound stake, you could be looking at 400 loss. But then you've got to weigh that up with, are you happy at losing 400? I suppose a lot of people will say no. Bear in mind, I'm currently looking at anywhere between 60 and 90 loss on the current strategy. Or do you want to kind of limit that by reducing your stake? So if we reduced our stake here to 50 pence, for example, this would come down to 200, and that might still not be great. So if you reduce this down to 25 pence, then this would reduce it to 100, which might be a lot more palatable to people, acceptable. Bear in mind, though, if you did reduce your stake down to 25 pence, you'd only be winning 25 pence per game, and there's only, per bet, per race, and there's only been 512 over like a couple of months, well, a month and a bit's worth of data here. Actually, it's probably exactly a month, because we started this on the 10th of March, and the data only goes up to the 10th of April, 9th of April, so it's a month's worth of data. So you're only looking at 512 bets. What I'd like to do personally is I would put a pound on still. I'd stick to this pound, and I'd suffer that on the basis it's unlikely to happen, but could, but that's the minimum. You'd only probably need, well, I suppose if you had 2 losses in a month and you only had 512, that's your profit wiped out. So that's the kind of thing we need to look at long term. But anyway, what I have done is I've put this into practice in the strategy I showed you at the start of the video. So I'm just going to jump back to that now and show you how it's been doing. Okay, this is the strategy then. As you can see, we've just had a bet put on 11 o'clock there. That's one since I first showed it. because we're up to £2.09. I think it was £2.08 before, and 208 wins, and now it's 209. So if you think about it, bear in mind, if we'd put a pound on, if we'd been putting a pound on instead of a penny, this would be £209 for the 209 bets. Now that's over a period of about 2 weeks. So it is still going in line with about, say, it's probably a bit less than 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll have to find the exact date when this started. I haven't got the full history though, because it cuts off at the 17th, and I think it's a little few days before that. Anyhow, if we'd been putting a pound on, that's just matched another one there. It's done at 14.5, although odds requested 15. Yeah, it should be at least 15, but it isn't. Anyhow, we'll lose a bit less there than any case if it does lose. Always the optimist. Yeah, so it's only put the 2 bets on today, so you get on a lot less bets because the odds of the forecast favourites being between 15 and 20 is quite slim. They're normally a lot lower than that, because you've normally got 2 decent fancy dogs who'll do the business, and they like that be, like anywhere between sort of 6, 7, 8 is the lowest you normally see, up to about sort of 10, 11, 12. Sometimes they're a lot higher in our cases, yeah, but when we're doing the green and the red strategies below, we're getting a lot more races for that reason, because the odds are lower and they're more likely to match up. You could see from the table I've done of like how many, where the main sort of hitters were, about like the sort of 8 to 12 mark. So we're going to get on a lot less, so which to me means if we want to make a monthly income from it, we need to be putting a pound on. But then obviously then we're risking losing anywhere between £225 to 400, so you need to have the kahunas to do it. You can see down here that we've so far only ever lost 1 in a row, but it's not to say we won't ever lose 2 in a row. I have got it set to pause as soon as we do lose 2 in a row. If we look at the safety rules here, after 2 consecutive losing bets, we'll pause, at which point we'll have lost quite a bit of money if we were using a pound. You can see here that a penny turned into minus 15 pence, so a pound would have been minus 15 pounds, and then the 16 pence we're trying to recover it with would have been 16 pounds, and that's at 17, so it would have been 16 pounds times 17 pounds, which would have been your total loss if that one had lost. The chances of losing 2 in a row are slim, but again, it will happen. It's the nature of this recovery beast that a lot of traders will just steer well clear, and I totally get that. I totally understand it. It will happen at some point, but you're just hoping that you've built up and accrued enough profit to cover any such losses. So that's all I wanted to mention on this bit, really. I think what I'm going to do is I will probably up this to 25 pence for me. I'll have a check to see if this strategy is already in the batch that I uploaded to the Discord group. If not, I'll put it in there. I don't know if I created this strategy after I created the export from Betfair Bot Manager or not. I think it might be in there, but I will double check along with a couple of others. If it's not in there and I've deselected it for whatever reason, I'll put it in there as a separate one. Or I might actually create a separate. It is kind of it is still a dog's forecast lay. It's just selected odds. If anybody's interested in how you set these up, these are the rules. You can probably pause this, but they're the rules for actually setting this up. And you can see there, that's where we're setting the price. Lay price for the favourite position 1 must be within 15 to 20, and then you're putting a bet type on the runner with favourite position 1 as a lay, and that's all. It's just how you do the settings. You get used to doing the Betfair Bot Manager. Price settings is just initial price available, and stake, and here we're doing a level stake of 1 pence, and then recovery it's 100%. which is where it tries to recover it. And if you took that out, that's where you would just be doing level 1p stakes all the time. I mean, that might work as well on this one. The 1p stakes all the time might work, because on this one, we've only got an 89% strike rate. On this one, we've got like 93 at the moment. This was 96 when I first started it, so it's dropped somewhat. And the only concern I do have, it's a little way under the 95. Well, nigh on 95, because going back to the spreadsheet of the first 4,000 bets, I was hoping to get like a 95% strike rate on this. Like I say, it started at 96, but it's now dropped to 93, so that's something to be wary of, which is why I'm still a bit dubious about upping this to £1 instead of a penny. But anyhow, that's the basis of this one. I might set up another channel for it in the Discord group, but I will keep an eye on it for now. It's just in the pipeline. It's just something I've started. I will probably take this to 25p stake in May, but no high at the moment, because again, like I say, that's still going to be £100 if we lose 20 to 1 shots in a row. Okay, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. I'm trying to get a bit of support, because not got massive numbers of subscribers, but it would be really appreciated if you would subscribe, so you can get informed of future videos and such, and any other strategies. I am going to move away a bit from the Betfair trading. I want to try and do some other things. I'll get onto some other betting strategies and stuff, and just making money while on the road. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers now. Bye.